Right, what on earth am I doing out in the dark again? Let me get this headlamp on so you can see what the hell I'm doing. Look at that, it's another flashlight. Right, this time it's from a company called, now I'm going to pronounce this as UrFlamp. Now it does sound like a Dutch soccer player, but I don't think it is. I presume it is a Chinese manufacturer of flashlights. And it's a pretty nice one. I wasn't going to look at this, and then I got to look at some of the specs, and I thought, no, go on. And I like this design, this sort of spiral design in the middle, rather than your standard nail. And they're trying something different. I love that. I look at and review a hell of a lot of lights. And when I see something different, I think, okay, I'll have a look at that. So is there anything else different on it, though? That's the important thing. So this is the UrFlamp V6. So down there you have an unidentified, I mean you might be able to tell just by looking at it, an unidentified LED emitter. I'll try and get the full specs for the full review, because they did send this to me. They sent this to me and said, have a look at this, be honest, see what you like. Won't get to edit this, won't get to see it until you release it. So these are my first thoughts, and I'll do a full review when I've carried this for at least a couple of weeks. So far it's holding up nicely, the paint isn't coming off, or anodization if you want to be posh. Pretty nice. It is a smooth reflector, as you can see there, so a standard setup. Slight crenellation on there, but it's more of an aesthetic thing than functional there. And it is a tail clicker, and it's an open tail clicker where you can get your thumb in, it's comfortable, but it's still not too open where you can't tail stand it. I have tested that, and I tested it on some cardboard, which is, you know, sometimes you think, well, has it got to be a super flat surface? It doesn't. Let's look at some of the specs, and I'll quickly turn this on because it'll become boring. USB-C rechargeable, look, flick that up with your thumb. So it's Type-C, hurrah, no more micro USB and all that malarkey. So it's got that. It's got a 1300 maximum lumen output, but there is a step down in that, which I'll cover in the review. In fact, there's a field here, so I can show you something. I'll show you how far it goes. Okay, so let's turn this out. So it's a 1.5 meter drop rate and an IP68, so it should be waterproof. Right, let's turn this on. It's not got many modes, so let's go through this quickly. There's Eco, 5 lumens. Now bear in mind, USB rechargeable, they give you a cell with it, but it's only 2600 milliamp hours. I would have preferred to have seen larger. There are larger ones available, especially when you're not outputting, you know, super maximum high amp. So there's your lowest there, 5 lumens, and then it goes up to 70. So there's your 70. So let's see if so it's starting to push out into that field, isn't it? So it's a traditional smooth reflector, so you're going to get a bit of throw. But up close, look, let's have a look. So there is some sort of tree leaves there, just so you can try and acclimatise yourself to what you're actually seeing there. And there's the path, and I'll move left and right. I mean, it's a bit of rings of Saturn going on here. Look, see on the floor there? So that is the design of the reflector there. So if you don't like that, that's just something to bear in mind. And there is some tint shift there. So I'm going to use my finger there. You see the tint shift here. And then right in the centre, there's a bit of yellow in there. And it goes back to sort of a different tint again. So up close, you will see that. But then as you pull away, it starts to turn to nothing. Okay, so this is low, 70. Next one, medium, 410 lumens. That's not bad. I'll give you the run times on the full review. Like I say, let's rotate around here so you get a good view. So there's some trees there, and then a grass verge there. Then all the way down there, what can you see down there? So it's pretty good, starting to push now, but it's not one of these piercing hot spots. As you can see, look, it reminds you of what you get with some of the ace beams. Although it's smaller than what you get with an ace beam, that hot spot on the ace beams is sometimes wider. On this one, it is semi-piercing, but it's not, you know, tiny in the middle, so you're trying to, you know, look at a person at a lighthouse 6 miles away, because that's not what this is for. This is a standard sort of thrower, right? So let's go to the highest, which is 1300. So we're moving up from 410 to 1300, but there will be a step down. Right, that's its highest. Let's come back to this field and let's see what difference that makes. So if we look at this field here, yeah, see the push out there, look. Big difference there. That's a massive field there. In the distance there, you're looking at easy a mile away or more. So that's a big distance there. Let's see if it goes to any of those trees. Not quite. You might see on camera, I'll go up and down so you can see. And you can see the beam there, look. So quite a tight beam, because there's plenty of particles in the air tonight. So you can see how sort of tight that beam is. So again, it's what I'll call a traditional thrower, and there will be step down. So we'll go through those again. So that's Eco, believe it or not. Low, you probably can't see very much. Eco, low, medium, high. Now we'll do the same looking at the distance. So Eco, low, medium, high. So you're probably thinking, okay, that's great, but this means nothing, not much to me. I need to compare it with other lights. Okay, I'll let you compare it to other lights, right? Let's look at some more. So I'll tell you what else I'm looking at it with. So as you can see, there's my hand. I have got red light on here, not to spoil what we're looking at here. So here's the good old Convoy S2. So 800 to 1000 lumens if you're lucky, with an orange peel reflector. You see that there? So you're going to get a more smooth beam there. But what you're going to get from that power, that's the question. So let's turn that off so we're not cheating here. Right, completely off, and we'll turn that on. Look at that. I mean, that is on its maximum setting, but look, different. See how that's different? And even here, see, because of the orange peel, yes, you've got that hot spot, but you see how it peters out there into the spill. I mean, there's obviously, you can see tint shift there. It's more yellow in the middle, or it certainly is on my screen, and then it goes to a more neutral and white on the sides there, but a much older emitter. But again, still 18650 cell, same cell as what you were getting on that last one, but this lacks USB rechargeability, but very, very cheap. Boom. In fact, let's show you some push out on this. It's no good me just saying, look at that tree, you're brilliant. Right, what does it do to this field? Has that got the push? I don't think it's got the same push, but up close, or medium distance I would refer to that as, it's certainly got a wider field of view, hasn't it? And there's the beam, just so you can see it there. So quite tight, but then it quickly peters out because it's an orange peel reflector. One of my favourites, I do like an orange peel reflector, and I was always a fan of the S2 from Convoy. Right, what else am I testing it with? I'm out and about, being an idiot. I'm testing it with this. This is the Sofern, I believe. Yes, Sofern SC32. Again, they are claiming up to 2000 lumens. It's pushing up there, but I would say it's at least, you know, 13 to 1600. But look at the size of that. Size difference, big change there. However, you know, it's very, very compact, even though it's still using an 18650, and it is USB rechargeable there. So using a TIR though, total internal reflection, rather than the traditional smooth or orange peel reflector. So how's that going to look? Let's try this. So again, the more lumens, just to be aware, because I'm not trying to cheat here and say this is better or that's better. So we'll turn it on and then go to its maximum. Brilliant. So TIR, so very, very smooth beam look. Pretty white, but that's more to do with the tint, I would argue. So if we come down a bit here, let's look at this on the floor. So TIR always gives you a very, very uniform beam. Even if I go closer, 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 where's the hot spot? It's not until I'm coming right down there that you're seeing the hot spot. So big difference there, isn't it? Let's see what that looks like in the field. So we'll turn it off, go to a lower mode, and then where's the field? So again, SC32, let's see what we've got here. Go to maximum, big difference there. Very, very wide, but again, not as pushy, although because this is more lumens, I would argue it probably is pushing out there. So you be the judge of that. Those cars are about half a mile away, and then right down there, right at the end, it's at least more than a mile, right off into the distance. So pretty impressive. Look at that. But this gets hot quick because of its compact size. So it's just something to bear in mind. So turn that out. Boom. Right, what else am I comparing it with? Well, I thought I'd compare it with something fun. So here we have, turn this on so you can actually see. So a little bit, well, I say a little bit more. They are claiming 2000-ish plus. So is this a fair alternative? Probably not, but it's similar, and it's in orange peel reflector. I just want to show you what is available in something of a similar size. It's not tail clicker, it's side, but it has a different UI, and it is an orange peel reflector. It's using something like the XH50B or whatever, the bigger Cree emitter. So it's going to be much more powerful. So I'll show you that. Let's show you down the path first. So there it is on its lowest. I mean, you can see it is on. Look, you can see there, it is on. I mean, you can see that this tells you about the battery. So does the UrFlamp. The UrFlamp V6 does exactly the same. It gives you a flash, and I'll show you that in a second. So if we put this to maximum, big difference there. That's, you know, getting close to daylight there. Very, very, very light. But it's kind of like, this is like an in-between. It's very, very, very powerful, so you're going to burn through that juice rapidly. Right, look in this field there, you see? That last light was pretty good when you consider how this is doing similar, but obviously a lot more light going out here and a lot more diffuse. Bigger head on it. Let's see what it looks like over here. Pretty good. But I just wanted to show you something with a bit more power, not too much bigger, so you could say, well, do I need this or do I need that, or do I want something heavier, a little bit heavier? I like to throw in a little fun one there. What else are we looking at here? So I thought I would look at the C3. Now, why am I looking at the C3? Because I have a sneaking suspicion, and I think that the UrFlamp V6 is using the Osram P9. And if it is using the Osram P9, it's quite a fun light. But so I know that this Lumen, is this a Lumen? Yes, this is the Lumen C3. I know that this uses the Osram, which is quite a fun emitter. You don't see it as much now because there's more powerful ones. But the P9 is quite throwy, and here it is in quite a fat looking TIR. So let's see how what I presume is the similar. I can't claim that as fact yet, but I'm digging into that. I think it's the same emitter. So let's see how Lumen have acted with this. So we'll turn that on. Look at that. Boom. Slightly different beam, isn't it? But again, it's coming out of a TIR. TIRs save you a little bit of headspace there in the tip of the light. Let's see what it looks like looking down there. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But at extreme distance, obviously, it spreads out and you're not going to see anything but TIR. And it's not a traditional thrower, it's an EDC light. Let's see what it looks like in this field. Not bad, not bad. But again, compared to those last couple of lights, this is about 1300 lumens again. It should be similar to the UrFlamp V6. So, boom, turn that out. What else am I testing it with? So I'm out here like an idiot in the dark. And I'm also testing it with the good old Lumen D1. Why the Lumen D1? Well, again, small, 18650. Again, you've got charging capability. Even though you look at this and you think, well, okay, where do you charge it from, TrailTrek, you idiot? Well, it's on the cell itself, so you can't do that. But look, TIR, but very, very flat. So you save a lot of space, kind of like the mindset of the Sofern SC32, where it's very, very small and compact. And again, this has a super wide beam. Then this tiny little pinpoint in the middle. Watch. So if I turn this on. Right, there it is. That's not necessarily its highest, but hang on, get strobe off. Right, so yeah, there's a low mode. It is actually on. Look, right there you go. So very strange. Look how wide that beam is. So when I put it down to the floor, look, see that? it's not 180 obviously, but it's very close. So if you're hiking, I love this for hiking. You can see everything. Your peripheral vision. It's a dream to use for hiking. But is it capable of doing other stuff? Well, not necessarily. You see that little push? It's got that tiny bit hot spot in the middle in that field, but then that peters out into nothing. So it's very... This tries to do everything, but you can't do everything. So that light has to go somewhere. But quite interesting, though, to look at. Not bad, eh? Right, let's go back to the light we're supposed to be looking at. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to have to try and find it. So it's somewhere in here. So let me find it. Where's the UrFlamp? If I'm even pronouncing that right. I think that's it on the bottom. Is that it there? Yes, right. I have found it. Helps if you turn out the lights that you were using there. Turn that out. Right. Let's get this turned on. So we'll quickly look at it. So again, UrFlamp V6, full review when I have time. Type-C charging. Type-C to C should work. Does it work? Here's a question. Can you charge this and use it at the same time? There's something to think about. I will certainly be looking into that because it's possible that you may not be able to do it. And again, 2600 milliamp hours on the cell that they provide, but you can stick your own cell in. Tail clicker, pretty straightforward, 1300 max. No moon mode though, and it's not ramping, but it does have a battery check, so I'll show you that now. So if I turn this on, watch where my little finger is. See that? See the green there? So green solid means it's high, then green flashing means it's heading down towards 50, then when it turns red solid it is going down towards your sort of 30%ish, and then red flash means danger, danger, you must charge or you will knacker the cell. So just something to think about there. So I like the knurling, it feels nice in the hand. What's a shame for me is the clip. That's one of the smallest clips, you know, for size of light. I'm not really sure, and it looks like it starts curving around, so you think, aha, two-way. No, it's not. It is two-way by virtue of the fact it curves over, but it's not. Oh, hang on now. There's a car coming, so I'll have to go now. So goodbye.